Welcome everybody from the Spark Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you join us again today. We're going to look at our urban parking system repository and we're going to look at Archimate. And today we're looking at a different viewpoint, and that viewpoint is the application structure viewpoint. My name's Scott. I'm joined by Stephen. So welcome, Stephen. What can you tell us about the application structure viewpoint?
Thanks for the introduction, Scott, and always a pleasure to be here. Yes, it's Archimate again today, and this is, of course, the de facto language for enterprise architecture modeling, so a very important framework and language. And we're going to look at the application structure viewpoint, which shows the structure of applications and how they relate to a collaboration, and also the data that's either created or consumed by the application. So let's make a start. Up in the top right-hand corner, we have the drop-down here that allows us to select a perspective. We have perspective sets. The one that we're interested in today is enterprise architecture, and the perspective is Archimate. So let's click on that, and the tool changes its focus to be on Archimate. We've got a number of patterns in the builder page here, and we can open those up, and we can see that we have patterns under the basic viewpoints, motivation, strategy, and implementation ones. So we've got the application structure viewpoint there. There is a pattern which you can inject into your model, and documentation that describes the pattern and how you can use it, including references and tools that you can use to work with the pattern. I'm not going to inject that in, Scott, but I encourage people to return to this page and get the productivity gains from using these patterns. But I want to do things from first principles, so I'm going to close that builder page. And I now need to find a place in the repository to start my work with the application structure viewpoint. I'm going to open up the enterprise node here in the browser and the enterprise architecture node. And you see here that we've got a number of viewpoints that we've already done videos on. This one would best fit into application architecture. So I'm going to create a new package there for our viewpoint. I simply use the new package icon in the browser toolbar, click on that and give it a name, and I'll call it the application structure viewpoint. That creates the package in the browser in the right location. We have it there. I'm going to drop it down below the other viewpoint that we've already created by using the arrow keys on the browser window. Having done that, I need now to put some notes in here so that people come into the model and understand what this viewpoint's about. Simply click into the notes window, and I've got some things in my buffer, and I'll put those in there. These are not words that I've created or Spark Systems has created. These are from the Archimate spec, and you can see the reference to that at the bottom of those notes. And then the notes help us understand the application structure viewpoint shows the structure of one or more applications or components. Viewpoint is useful for designing, understanding main structure of applications. So let's make a start with that package in the browser and some notes in there. We're going to create a diagram. So again, using the toolbar of the browser window and the new diagram icon, I'm going to click on that and create a new diagram. Now, we've got a number of diagram types here: business, application, technology, motivation. Let's have a look under these, and we can see that we have a number of different viewpoints. The significance of these is that they will limit what you see in your toolbox to just the things that you need for the particular viewpoint. So we are doing the application structure viewpoint. So we'll click on that and we'll say create new diagram. Enterprise Architect creates the toolbox, opens up the toolbox pages relevant to this particular viewpoint. And you can see now that there are a number of things in the toolbox: components, collaborations, interfaces, and data objects, as well as some structural relationships and dynamic relationships, and of course these other concepts: junction, grouping, and specialization, which pretty much can occur on any of the diagrams or viewpoints. The first one I'm going to put in is an application collaboration. So this is going to set the scene for our components, application components, and I'll put that in, and I'll just get a name for that, and this is all about parking analysis and optimization. So we'll put that one in there, and now we've got a name for it. We're also going to put in notes so that people understand what this component is actually about. The name tells the story a little bit, but this gives a much greater expression or narrative about what it's about. So collaboration integrates multiple specialized application components to transform parking data into actionable insights. So if you're familiar with that kind of an analytical world, you will understand that. And let's go now and create our first application component. I'm going to put that above this element and to the left because I intend to put a number of other elements in there. So application
Does
component.
the standard specify where they should go, or does it really just specify the types of components?
No, it doesn't specify anything about the sort of geometry or the location of the elements in a diagram. There are some examples in the specification, but that's up to each modeler to decide which is the best way to tell the story. And remember, Scott, this is all about telling a story, creating a narrative that describes and communicates to a range of stakeholders, you know, what the system is going to be or already is in the case that you're documenting existing systems.
So I assume our audience can have a look at the builder page if they want to see some examples of layouts and structures.
Exactly, Scott. Absolutely. So let's delete that and put in some notes for that element, and we'll do that. Now, let's put in a connector between these two elements. So one of them is the collaboration, and the other one is this occupancy predictor. So we'll click on this one, and we'll use the quick linker and drag that onto the. Encourage you to put it into the center of the element, even though Enterprise Architect will target an edge. So
yep.
Aggregation of, and there we have it. The line's telling us that the diamond end is the one that is the the big player in the relationship, and this one's just one of the aggregates that's there. So I'm going to now put in an interface as well, because we need to put in some interfaces that we can work with. So I'll put that one in, and you can see how easy it is just to drop that in from the browser, and I'll put some notes in that again. Once again, I encourage people to be dropping those notes in. So provide standard access to incoming data from various IoT sensors. So Internet of Things sensors, cameras, and smart meters. So you can see this digital parking meter system is quite advanced and using lots of new technology. I'm going to put in another element now, which is the fourth one in our box, which is in our toolbox, which is a passive structure one. I'm going to put that in, and let's drop that in and put in some details about that one as well. So, and now let's put in some relationships. I can use the guidelines there to do that. And I'm going to say that this realizes that interface. So the application component realizes the interface. Put that in. And this parking events one there, I'm going to make that a little bit smaller just to distinguish it that it's data. I'm going to leave it here, and you'll see the reason for that in a minute. And I'm going to use the quick linker again, and you can see the quick linker is doing the work for us. We've only got two choices there. Accesses and associated with accesses is stronger, telling you that that component accesses the.
It's going to access that data. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So then we have it, Scott. That's kind of the main pieces in this story. What I'm going to get you to do is to do some time travel magic now.
Welcome back. We've now got a completed diagram. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how we do the parking analysis and optimization according to this diagram.
Thanks, Scott. Glad to be back here. We have completed the diagram. You can see now there is still our single collaboration, our application collaboration. We now have three application components in here, and a number of interfaces and a number of data objects. Yeah. So let's have a look at something that's happened here while I've been working. I created the diagram, and the elements that I've created, I've put onto the diagram, as you saw in the earlier part of the video. And what's happened is they've all gone into the overarching package there, the parent package application structure viewpoint, which is Enterprise Architect's default behavior. Now, I could leave them where they are, but as you can see, I've already created a number of packages that I like to put these elements into. You don't have to do this. You might feel more comfortable leaving them as a list there and not putting them into separate packages. I'd like to do exactly that, to put them into the packages. I'm going to just drag them. You can see I just click on that one and drag it, application collaboration there. The interfaces, I'm going to get the interfaces, and I know there are 3 of those. I can use my control key and my mouse button, my left mouse button, just to select those. I'll put them into the interfaces package. Now I've got application components, 3 of those, and I'll put those into application components and then the data objects.
Now, as you're moving those elements in the browser, they're not being removed from the diagrams, are they?
No, Scott, you can put them anywhere that you like, and you can only put them in one place. So that's one of the restrictions, I guess, or one of the positive things as well, that you don't have multiple copies of things throughout your repository. There's just one element, and it goes into a particular package, but it can appear on multiple diagrams, and we've seen that in a couple of earlier videos. So that makes no bearing on the diagram. You can see the diagram hasn't changed at all. It's just that they're in a different location.
But I think the point is, if you've been modeling for a few months and you want to refactor and remodel the browser and move things around so that it makes more logical sense, you can do that without disrupting your work.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Scott. Exactly right. So let's have a look at doing some other things. I'm going to put a legend on this diagram, and let's have a look at doing that. We have a legend here, and it is up in our on our enterprise library section here. And so let's have a look at the legends. And I can put this legend on. I've been working on this legend with other views, so let's put it onto the diagram and see what happens. And you can see here that the legend, let me just check whether the legend's been applied there. Apply the auto color. So if the legend doesn't, for some reason, come on, it's because that apply auto color has been turned off. So let's turn that on again and save that legend. And now you can see that the colors have been updated. Now you notice that there's one missing there, and that's the this relationship here, which is the access relationship. So we can easily update our legend. So let's just do that now and see how that works. We click on the legend itself. We go to the legend panel of the properties window there, and their connector legend. So we click on that. I'll move these notes down a little bit, and we've got a whole lot of different items there in our legend. So let's put a go new there, and the value we need to put on here is the name of the stereotype, which is Archimate Access, and the name of the relationship is Accesses. And let's choose a color for that. If we've done this right, everything should change on the diagram where those access ones are.
Yeah.
And there you can see that. So it's people can be tempted, Scott, to use the very powerful feature of going and changing the colors of connectors by using the layout ribbon. And I've seen people do this, and it is effective, but doing it dynamically is much, much more effective, because you're able to put different legends on and assign those colors. So
and this is a small diagram, but if you had a diagram with 500 elements and 1,000 connectors, that's much, much quicker.
Exactly, Scott. So there are lots of other things that we can use, other features in the tool that we can use to make these diagrams more expressive. Just going to show a couple of those. One of them I like is the presentation helper here. I can click on that, and that just puts a boundary around the element that I'm talking about. So imagine I'm talking across a video conference, or even in a physical meeting in a room. I can simply project the model and click on this as I'm talking and say, the occupancy predictor there, talk about it. The other thing I can do is show the direction of the lines. And so you can see that there is overriding the color scheme of the legend. And you can see that these outgoing ones are in green and these incoming ones are in red. And I can do that for any of those elements.
Yeah.
So that's very powerful. The other thing I like to do, Scott, is to just make sure that I've put notes on all of the elements, and I can use the inline specification view to do that. We've seen that in other videos, but quite a useful thing there, and I can click on those and find them in the diagram there as it moves along. So very useful, but remember, you can create documentation directly from the application to document your architectures. And if that's a necessary thing as part of some contractual relationship, then the tools are all there to do that. But also remember, Scott, that you can view these models through a web interface with the Collaborate tool or WebEA. So that's it for the application viewpoint, Scott. Incredibly powerful view, really. And the business value there is, you can see through the integration of the analytics engine and understand how that parking analytics and optimization is going to work. You can go down into more detail. Obviously, you can see the data that's needed to be created or consumed, and the interfaces that are exposed by the particular applications.
Well, thanks for that, Stephen. It's great to see it come together, and yeah, it looks quite comprehensive, and the development team now knows what data sources they need and what interfaces they need to develop. So yeah, very, very valuable and interesting. As always, our audience knows the drill. If you've enjoyed this video, like, comment and subscribe to the Spark Systems YouTube channel to hear the latest and greatest from Spark Systems. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Stephen using his LinkedIn and website credentials that are listed in the description below. As always, thanks, Stephen, for your expertise and for showing us how easy it is to develop things in Archimate. Appreciate your hard work.
Pleasure to be here, Scott.